Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Eli or P691000. Today we are going to finish up in the next video the whole thing about the most haunted places in America. But this video I wanted to do something a little special for you guys, and I just stumbled upon it a couple days ago. It's called Black-Eyed Children. Now if you've never heard of it before, welcome to the club, because a lot of people haven't. But it's quickly growing. Now, is this a myth? Is it a legend? Is it something that needs to be explored? Or are these real incidents? Are these real series of incidents out here? I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, but it is creepy, I'll tell you that. I'm going to read you a very long article, so this video will probably be about, I don't know, pretty long. I mean, not crazy long, but it'll be long. But it's spooky, really, it is, and I feel that we need to examine this on this channel, so here goes. Black-Eyed Children. Right there. Isn't that like the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life? And I'll let you guys kind of look at that while I'm reading this article. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can... Anyway, alright. It's dark. It's late. And you're in the middle of nowhere. Perhaps you're walking down a lonely stretch of moonlight road. Maybe you're in a desolate parking lot trying to get your car started, or perhaps you're nestled in the warmth of your own home reading yourself to sleep. Whatever the circumstances, you find yourself in an isolated locale when you're suddenly startled by a sharp knock at the door or window. You look up from your steering wheel or curiously pull back the curtains to see. Wait for it. A pair of thin, trimly dressed, usually olive-skinned teenagers. Sounds pretty anticlimactic, right? But just wait. These aren't your average ordinary scallywags. These creatures have something horribly wrong with them. Something almost none of the witnesses noticed at first glance. It's their eyes. These creatures have no white corneas, no colorful irises. Just a pair of big, black, shark-like eyes that inspire abject horror in all who have claimed to see them. What's worse is that these bizarre younglings aren't content to scare you and continue on their merry way. No, they insist that you help them. They stare through you with those dull ebony orbs and demand you let them in your car and give them a ride home, or that they be allowed in your house to use your phone. The most horrifying aspect of all this is that those who have claimed to encounter these sinister kids swear that they've had to actively resist the temptation to do their bidding, as if their voices carried some sort of hypnotic influence. Stories of black-eyed kids, or BEKs, as they were swiftly dubbed, have been popping up all over the internet for over a decade, but have yet to achieve any real pop culture notice. You'll know when that happens as soon as you start seeing commercials for a Wes Craven or Eli Roth new movie based on horrifyingly real paranormal phenomena. This strange trend was first reported by journalist Brian Bethel on January 16, 1998. According to Bethel, two boys approached him while he was sitting in his parked car. Bethel described the kids in a strange fashion as kind of stylish, olive-skinned kids. The boys asked for a ride home, explaining that they were on their way to the movies but had forgotten their money. Bethel claimed that he was overwhelmed by a fight or flight response, but was nevertheless tempted to allow the boys entrance into the vehicle. He resisted the urge, which seemed to only agitate the boys, who grew ever more angry that they would not be allowed into the car. It was then that Bethel finally noticed their coal black eyes, whereupon he was momentarily paralyzed with fear. The black-eyed beings seemed to realize that their window of opportunity was closing, and their demands reached a fever pitch, at which point Bethel collected himself and promptly exited the scene. Thus began the official saga of the BEKs. Let's see. As is evident to anyone who's ever roasted marshmallows in front of an open flame, tales of BEKs have a lot of the characteristics of a classic campfire story. In fact, one of the most horrifying accounts I've come across concerns a man who decided to ignore years of warnings issued by scores of horror films and go camping alone. This unlucky fellow first encountered a pair of BEKs in an empty men's room and then foolishly decided to sleep unaccompanied in his tent next to a lonely lake some miles away. According to this chilling tale, these kids managed to track him to his tent, where they spent the better part of the night begging to be let in from the cold. The man spent a sleepless night in the center of his tent, doing his best to ignore their pleas for shelter, all the while convinced that any second they were going to burst in on him and end his life. As dawn broke, the chap was relieved to discover that he was once again on his own. He packed, frenzily, and left post-haste, vowing to never camp on his own again. Another of the numerous accounts of BEK's encounters concerned a woman named Adele, who was in the relative safety of her home when she had a harrowing experience with the BEKs. She described the encounter thusly. And this is her trying to describe it, supposedly her anyway. I was sitting in my bedroom reading a book when at 11 p.m. I heard a knocking, a slow, constant one. I got up out of bed to see what it was. I looked out of the window and to my surprise saw two children. I opened the window and asked them what they want at this time of night. They replied by saying simply, "Let us in." I said no and asked them what for. "We want to use your bathroom." I was quite shocked that children of about 10 years old wanted to use a stranger's bathroom at this time of night. I told them no, closed the window, but looked at them through the glass. I glanced at their eyes, and I had never, ever seen eyes like them. They were black, completely black. I got the feeling of evil and unhappiness. It surrounded me. It was horrible. As if that weren't creepy enough, apparently military security is no obstacle for these entities, as one Marine who was stationed at Camp, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Lejeune, North Carolina, can attest. The Marine was up late watching a movie in the infantry barracks where he lived in November of 2009. Being the weekend, all of his cohorts were either out drinking or asleep. And when he heard a knock at his door, he assumed it was merely his roommate, who had a habit of forgetting his keys. When he opened the door, the young Marine would receive the shock of his life, for it was not his buddy standing in the walkway, but a pair of BEKs. The Marine insisted that his first instinct was to slam the door and lock it, but he was unable to do so. He described the experience in vivid detail. "I couldn't take my eyes off their pitch black eyes. It was like they were sucking me in. I felt horrible and was suddenly frightened for my life, like I needed to immediately take cover. They just stared at me with those eyes." Let's see. I took a quick look up and down the walkway to see if any other Marines were out, but there was no one in sight. I turned back to the kids, who I noticed had taken a step toward me. I got the feeling like I was being hunted, like these kids were predators and out for their next meal or something. Instinct gave way to reason, and I decided to listen to that voice and shut the door and locked it. It would seem that even other children are not immune to contact with these entities, and if this report is to be believed, they are even willing to get physical with those who are their own age, or appear to be their age. This alarming account was posted online by a 16-year-old who had run into a pair of BEKs outside of his home. In his own words, typos and all. I was skateboarding at around 10:30 last night and had stopped to take a rest when I was approached by two kids, one with blonde hair and a baseball cap, pointed pointed, it says pointed and a skateboard. I think it means at the skateboard. Anyway, painted all black on the bottom, and the other slightly less intimidating as he looked around 8. He had blonde hair, also was wearing a Spider-Man shirt. The older one spoke to me as I had my head hanging low. "Hey kid, can you help us? We're lost. We need to use a phone. Can you take us to your house?" I looked up at them, immediately felt dread and despair. I stood up quickly, sensing something was wrong. "You can use my cell phone if you want." The older kid seemed annoyed then and looked me in the eyes. It was then that I noticed they were black, all black, not any white I could see. "Hey, cool contacts. Where did you get them?" I asked. Let's see. "They're not contacts," he said flatly. "Yeah, well, sorry, I couldn't help you guys out, but I'm going inside." He was like, I turned around and started to ride, but somehow the older kid caught up with me and grabbed my shoulder. "You will let us use your phone. We need to go inside, but we can't if you don't take us to your house." It was at this point I hit him in the face and ran up the steps to my house and shook for hours later when I was on the computer. I looked outside my window and the kids were staring at the window. I told my mother, and of course she didn't believe me. This was the first encounter I've heard of where there was physical contact between a BEK and a human being. Does this represent a trend of increasingly physical violence that these creatures will employ to get their way, or is it merely a case of a weaker individual getting bullied by an unknown entity? Perhaps only time will tell. These cases and scores of others have been reported from all across the globe with very few sorry folks, very few differences. Some neglect the olive skin, while other reports state that the BEKs were dressed in fashionable clothes of another time period rather than the contemporary trends. Most of these cases involve a pair of boys, but there are also reports of adult women, and even one bizarre account by an elderly couple concerning a group of black-eyed teens that pulled in front of their house in a new van. While a pair of BEKs attempted to gain access to their home, they noticed with the rest of them that they had black eyes when they rocked in front of the house. Needless to say, these cases represent the exceptions and not the rule. So proposing this phenomenon is not only real but increasing in frequency, we are forced to ask the question, what the heck are these things? And alright, well, anyway, that was that article, and it goes on to question what these things are, but I want us to do that. I want us to talk about that. Here's some things that it says that they might be. Vampires, very good possibility if they exist. Human-alien hybrids, that's a stretch. Lost souls, maybe. Demons in disguise, maybe. Probably not, though. Hoax, maybe. Let's read that. Let's read the hoax article, okay? Author Barry Napier, who was reported on this phenomena, has made the valid point that while the internet is an individual tool for the distribution of information, it is also an easily abused medium for the transference of hearsay, rumors, and outright lies. The internet has made so much that it is so much easier to stay up to date with paranormal events. Sadly, it has also made it easier for people to spread many false claims and hoaxes. But of this, it is difficult to tell when someone is contributing to a lie that has already fooled many readers, or if the account is truthful. Okay, that's a valid point. It very well could be a fake. It could be a hoax. That's a very good point, because in 1998, if you'll remember, all through the 90s, that's when a lot of internet hoaxes were starting to go on and starting to spread. But then you start to wonder, these BEKs have a lot of accounts. They have a lot of reported sightings from people that really would have no reason to lie if they're real. Like the old couple, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's also a book about them, by the way, which the man actually goes and interviews many people that have seen these things. Not all of them are lying. I'm sure some of them probably are. But are all those people, even the honest ones, going to lie? No, no. So there may be something going on here. If so, what the hell are these things? I'm going to go on a guess and say vampires. We've talked about vampires on this channel before, excuse me. We've talked about vampires before. But let's think about that for just a second, folks. They only come out at night, or at least when it's really dark, or at least getting dark. They always in pairs, like a hunting team. They wanted to be invited into your home. Think about that for just a second. They want to be invited in. They don't just come in, do they? Remember the old vampire legends? That vampires have to be invited into your home? Maybe there's some truth to that. I don't believe they're demons, just because that doesn't really make sense. Demons can do whatever in the hell they want to do, and they don't have to be invited anywhere. So that wouldn't make sense to me. Alien-human hybrids? No. No, 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 no. I'm just going to go ahead and rule that one out right now. So it's either a hoax or vampires, in my personal opinion, or something that we don't know about. Now, if you'll remember, eyes are the windows to the soul. If your eyes are pitch black with no white in them whatsoever, you don't have a soul, do you? I'm going with vampire on this one, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, tell me what you think. Peace, love, I love y'all. Have a great day, and we'll continue the most haunted places in America in the next video.